All right, today we're diving into the incredible story of a king whose power was, well, legendary. But his greatest tests were never about force or armies. They were matters of faith.
So, let's explore the life of Prophet Suleiman. You might know him as Solomon. His kingdom wasn't just some territory on a map. No, it was this divinely granted dominion over the forces of nature itself, and even over the unseen world.
I mean, the sheer scale of his power was just staggering. This wasn't just a kingdom, it was a living, breathing miracle. His throne, which was built by powerful spirits called the Jinn, was this masterpiece that would actually move and animate when he approached it. And his armies, they weren't just men. He had organized legions of humans, spirits, and birds, with the birds flying in perfect formation just to give him shade from the sun.
And here's the thing that really gets you. Imagine having kitchens that could cook for an army so massive they needed over 2,000 camels for just one meal. Yet, he chose to earn his own keep by doing humble manual labor, weaving baskets. This wasn't just for show, it was who he was, keeping him humble in the middle of all that unimaginable splendor.
But you know, with that much power comes some pretty immense tests. And the key to his entire kingdom, the very instrument of his God-given authority, was all held in a single object, a sacred ring. And that, right there, made him vulnerable.
And it's just wild how easily it all fell apart. It happened in a moment of routine, something he did all the time. A demon who had been waiting for this exact opportunity took on his perfect disguise. The deception was so total that his most trusted handmaiden handed over the key to the entire kingdom without even a second thought. And in an instant, the throne was gone.
And the consequences were immediate and absolute. The true king wasn't just dethroned, he was cast out, completely unrecognized by his own guards. He went from being the master of the entire world to a penniless laborer working alongside fishermen. His identity was just erased. His past was a life he could no longer even prove was his.
You have to understand, this wasn't just a political coup. It was a deep, spiritual ordeal. His exile turned into this profound 40-day trial of faith, of patience, and of having to completely rely on God after having absolutely everything stripped away.
So you have this incredible dual story playing out. While Suleiman is living the humble life of a fisherman, back at the palace, the demon on the throne is ruling like a tyrant. His cruel judgments and unholy acts start to raise suspicion. People, even his own family, start to sense this is not the just prophet they knew. And as the pressure built, the demon, terrified of being discovered, makes a huge mistake. He throws the ring into the sea. But, well, destiny had other plans.
So the big question is why? Why would such a great prophet be put through this kind of humiliation? It was what's called a divine admonition, a test. The sources tell us that, without him even knowing it, idol worship had crept into his own household. This trial was this powerful reminder that a leader is responsible for the spiritual purity of his own home, and a lapse in watchfulness, even if you don't know about it, can have some serious consequences.
And the moment he gets it back, wow, it was just as dramatic as the moment he lost it. He's about to eat the fish he earned for the day, and he finds the ring inside. The second he slips it onto his finger, the very fabric of nature responds. The birds, the wind, the jinn, they all knew instantly. His divine authority just snapped back into place, and the entire kingdom felt it. The true king was back.
You can just imagine when he returned to his throne, he turns to his wisest minister, Asif, and asks, "Why didn't you say anything? You knew it wasn't me." And Asif's reply is just so crucial. He explains that, yes, he knew the demon was an imposter, but he also knew that this was a divinely ordered trial that had to run its course. He couldn't interfere with God's plan.
Now, you'd think that's the end of it, right? He gets his kingdom back, lesson learned. But no. In many ways, losing the throne was just a preface to much deeper, much more personal lessons about faith and where we place our attachments.
So one afternoon, he's inspecting his war horses, and we're talking 1,000 of the finest steeds, bred specifically for holy war. He got so absorbed in their beauty, their strength, their potential to serve God's cause, that he completely lost track of time. His love for the means to a righteous end had distracted him from the end itself.
When he realized he'd missed his afternoon prayer, his heart just sank. He was filled with remorse, but instead of getting angry at the horses, who were blameless, he just turned to God and repented. And in response, something incredible happened. The sun,
which had already set, was commanded to reverse its course and rise again, just so he could perform his prayer at the right time. This next trial came from his own righteous ambition. He was so fired up with this desire to raise an army of devout warriors for God's cause that he made this powerful declaration of what he was going to do. And the goal was noble for sure, but the declaration, it was missing something.
And right there, we see this tiny but absolutely monumental omission. In all his confidence and his passion, he forgot to condition his plan on God's will. He spoke as if the outcome was completely in his own hands, forgetting that simple little phrase that acknowledges that all power and all outcomes ultimately belong to God.
And the result was a direct, heartbreaking lesson. Of the 70 sons he pictured, only one was even conceived, and that child was born incomplete. It was like a physical symbol of a plan made without divine permission. And yet, Suleiman's love for his son was complete, which just shows his compassion even in the face of this really painful trial.
So one day in his court, he sees the angel of death looking at his son in a very particular way. Fearing the absolute worst, Suleiman falls back on his own power. He commands his spirits to take the child and hide him in the safest place he could possibly imagine, high above the earth, hidden inside a cloud. He was trying to use his own authority to outmaneuver a divine decree.
But you just can't escape destiny. This was the ultimate lesson in power. You see, his own plan became the very instrument of fate. The angel of death had been told to take the child's soul in a cloud, and the angel had been wondering how the boy would ever get there from his father's lap. Well, Suleiman himself provided the way. The lifeless body of his son falling onto his throne was the final, devastating proof that no amount of power can change what is destined to be.
Humbled by this profound loss, and having faced the absolute limits of his own authority, Suleiman finally arrived at a complete understanding of his role and the true nature of his kingdom. He fell into prostration, completely broken and submissive. And his prayer was different now. It wasn't one of ambition. He asked for forgiveness first, and then he asked for a unique kingdom, not as a monument to himself, but as an undeniable, everlasting sign for all of humanity, a sign that points only to the unmatched power of the one who granted it in the first place.
And that's really what his story leaves us with. It shows us that even for the most powerful king in all of history, true strength wasn't in a magic ring or a flying throne. It was found in humility, in repentance, and in the unwavering faith to submit to a will far, far greater than his own.